the guy is long-winded. He can't be I'm embarrassing myself as I can't do it either, but he can't be brief on anything.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, a look ahead to the 2024 golf season. We're going to break down the majors, the President's Cup, open up the mailbag, and even talk about some of the broadcasting moves and maybe some new technologies that are coming to you in 2024. So smash the like and sub to the channel because the Mayo Media Network is going to have all of the golf coverage you need, maybe even more than you think as the season goes along. A little tease for me right now for what to expect this season. But you should play in the one and done. It's already filling very quickly. FantasyGolfChampionships.com. You can have up to 5 entries. It costs $200 to play, but that's for the year. It's like $6 a week because it runs from January through August. $80,000 to the winner. Everyone inside the top 10 gets paid 5 figures. It's one pick per week. It is very low stress, but some of the most fun things that you can participate in. Because, I mean, people like to bet on outrights or top 10s or play daily fantasy golf. This one is low stress, it's fun, and you can even set up text alerts. Like if you're bad at remembering to make your picks, don't worry about it. Put in your phone number. It will text you if you haven't made your pick, and then you spend 5 seconds and make a pick. There's big money on the line. It'll help support both, the show, the golf community. It's something for us to all gather around. So FantasyGolfChampionships.com. Get your spot in the one and done today. Geoff Fienberg is on the line to go do this. We went so long recording with part 1, we decided to do a part 2 and, double the episodes, double the clicks, double the ad revenue. It really worked out in our favor here.
Good timing and major season. Masters have already started to see the commercials during some CBS like college sport broadcast, Pat. So I don't know, major season will be here before we know it.
Yeah, and Fantasy National is getting a fresh coat of paint, as some people improperly say. But FantasyNational.com/Mayo will get you 20% off, and members might have a very special gift coming to them a little bit into the season, as Jeff, Moose, and I have been working on a very top secret project that might change the way that you follow golf on your phone.
Let's go.
Have I sent
There's
you
a lot of ways? There's a lot of ways I don't like following golf on my phone. So any improvement in that regard, I'm here for.
It would be nice to have some real-time data, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? And be able to see where your shots are going at all times with the players that you want. But hey, I don't want to say too much because it's not ready as of this recording, so I don't want to overpromise anything, but I'm betting it's going to be really nice. So FantasyNational.com/Mayo is where you want to be. We did the recap, but what we ended on with that is what I want to talk about at the very beginning before we get into the major previews. Kevin Kisner taking over in the booth for NBC, at least to begin the season. I like it. I think this is I'm shocked that Kisner maybe he didn't qualify for the elevated event, so he's like, yeah, screw it. Well, I need to get my paychecks. I'll show up and do the broadcast booth for this. But I think he's just sort of like the perfect style of crotchety person to be in the booth, and I endorse it. Anything to get Azinger out was step 1. Kisner seems like a good step 2, even if it's not going to be him all year.
Yeah, so I like seeing that announcement that it does seem like it's a bit of a trial. I do wonder how well like his shtick will play like long term. Like I could see everyone like loving it and then like at some point hating it. That makes any sense.
Agreed.
I do believe, and I don't like for a long-term answer for the spot Azinger had for the premier event schedule, like NBC rocks most of the year. I would like someone a bit more accomplished. I really would. Yeah. And I'm a sucker for an accent. Like if I could pick my guy, I would give it to Ogilvy.
I would say give it to Harrington if he wanted to do it.
He can't. Here's the thing, Pat. I agree. He seems like he's way too competitive. Like he still is like going. He's still making gains with his swing speed. The other thing with Potty, which is the reason we love him, there's no way a director needing to cut to commercial or another shot can use Potty. The guy is long-winded. He can't be. I'm embarrassing myself as I can't do it either. But he can't be brief on anything. but I love him.
I know that Trevor Immelman won the Masters, but is his career substantially different outside of that one thing than Kisner's?
Oh, yeah, okay, you're right. The accent. I guess you'd argue Kisner has an accent too. I don't know. I'm such a sucker for an accent. I love it.
But we've never had when was the last time we had the accent on NBC, though? You got Faraday running through, but he wasn't the color guy. It's always been an American on NBC, at least from what You had Johnny Miller, and then you had Paul Azinger. Like, I mean, that's basically my entire lifetime of NBC coverage.
You're right. No, and I like them giving Kisner a shot. Like, you're right. He could be the perfect like mix of everything. In terms of like, he's accomplished enough. He's got enough name recognition. He's very witty and funny. And if you've watched any of the content or podcasts he's been in, like he can think on his toes too. So like he'll have a one-liner ready to go that doesn't feel as, no offense, as like pre-scripted as like Colts do a lot of the time. And I like it. And to your original point, like it's good that this is it's a good sign that this is the direction they're thinking and willing to go.
It also plays well that Kisner, not a major winner. He is, honestly, he's your prototypical grinder who achieved a lot on the PGA Tour. Yeah. He may not have had the best skill set going. I remember when he lost in the playoff to Fowler, or he lost to Fowler with him and Sergio in the playoff of the 2014 Players. And it was like, who the hell is Kevin Kisner? And he just kind of stuck around for the next 10 years, which was kind of crazy because he never did one thing really well. He used to putt kind of well. Sometimes the irons would be fine, but he was a grinder who was out there to get his paychecks. And the new vision of the PGA Tour, where you're losing such star brand players, maybe he can speak to the Eric Coles of the world and the Ben Griffins. Maybe he can relate to it that way.
You made a great case. Like I wasn't against it. I wasn't like you made a great case. This ain't no hobby. You talk about the new wave, like there are groups of players out there who go to tournaments and winning is not even anywhere near their mind and they find themselves in contention like Kisner often did a lot, but they're there to finish 30th because as Kisner joked, like, dudes, you have like any idea how much it pays to finish 30th on the PGA Tour? And I know I see some of these courses, these yardages going when I arrive on a site, I know I can't win, but then they show me what 30th pays and I get real excited. So yeah, I love everything Kisner brings. I do. Maybe that was wrong of me to say we need someone more accomplished because you're right. With these jabroni fields, he's probably the exact guy we need.
So the three that would have made my very top of the list, I guess, especially if we consider Patty unrealistic as a part of this, he would be on that podium for me. It would be Phil number 1, Poulter number 2, Patty number 3. 2 of those guys are on LIV, so they're probably out. All 3 of those guys are probably out. And what they did by giving Kisner, and it's not his job long-term, maybe he can play his way into it, and then he becomes the permanent guy, or they rotate a few through to give, almost like they did with Jeopardy, in terms of being who was the new host after Alex Trebek. But I like Johnson Wagner on the Golf Channel, and he still fits in. He's sort of even like a lesser Kevin Kisner in terms of career accomplishment. But I think that he has done really good work on Golf Channel. He's still active enough and close to being in his quote-unquote prime, but still being in the midst of the PGA Tour, that you get that feel, and if he is good, you can grow with him over time, despite not having been a major winner. Hell, I don't even know if Johnson Wagner's ever won on the PGA Tour. I just like what he's done on the Golf Channel and with some of the lesser events. If you put him into the big booth, talking about the big players, I don't know exactly how that translates, but I would like to see him get some sort of shot.
Yeah, he seems fine. I mean, there's a lot of guys on the Golf Channel that clearly had nice careers that I have no idea who they were when they played, like Rolfing and Jim Gallagher, but they're like, fine, I have no problem. Johnson Wagner, because of my age, like I'm more familiar with them, and he was good enough for a period of time where he was getting in like a MasterCard commercial. That's how good Johnson Wagner was for a brief period of time. My only critique on him at the moment is like the black dye, hair dye, mustache dye. Seems like it's a little too heavy. Like, he doesn't need to be like that dark.
He was a champion of first-round leader wagers. Him and Sean Stephanie.
Oh, yeah. You're right. He was a Thursday warrior. When I used to work with Cam. Like he was probably the king of Thursday Warriors when I worked with Cam. Charlie Hoffman was like our era though, Pat. Like our early days together.
Yeah, but
Hoffman
Chuck Hoffman was the king of like first round leader at major championships. Like he would be the bad player in a good field, but in all the other tournaments, he was the good player in the bad field.
Yes. Okay, fair enough.
Like when you went to the Valero Texas Open, Charlie was going to be one of your top 5 favorites. Johnson Wagner really never had that.
Does Phil at all feel like there's nowhere close to that being realistic anymore? Or maybe it is one day.
I would
making
love it.
too much money to play golf.
I know, but I mean, he has $1 billion now, according to him. So
He loves hearing his own voice. So like
Who
that's
doesn't?
like you need like that is a quality like for a player of that stature and for that financial to have who has that money. Like the only thing that draw is that he gets to give his own voice on NBC or CBS to the world on a weekend of a big golf event. Like because you can't. There's almost no money you can. Well, there's always $1, but it's not like he needs the gig.
Let's move on to the majors. And I want to ask everyone the Spotify question of the episode. So if you go on to Spotify and this episode for the Pat Mayo Experience, there will be a vote up there. I want to know what your favorite non-major tournament is of the year. Do you have an answer for that? Because the Heritage has been my favorite. I kind of don't like it that it's an elevated event. Kind of takes away the luster for me. I think it's Bay Hill now.
Bay Hill is great. I would always cheat, Pat, because I had my answer, and it was always match play. But it is dead. It is dead. Favorite tournament of the year. Bay Hill is got to be up there. Riviera's probably right.
See, I like
there as
I like
well,
Torrey
and-
better than I like Riviera to watch on TV.
Yeah, fair enough. And we already spoke about Honda earlier. Obviously, I've been to a few of those. I love it down there, but those probably would be it.
Okay, so I want to hear from you in the Spotify comment section. That's how you can help out the show. Turn on your auto downloads, leave a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple, sub to the Mayo Media Network, smash a like, all that fun stuff to help us get going for 2024 because we want to do more content than ever for golf season, new and improved content coming at you. So the Masters at DraftKings Sportsbook right now. The last 2 champions are the 2 betting favorites. It's Rahm and Scheffler at 8-1. Rory's 9. Vic, your guy, is 10. Then it's a drop-off. You have Spieth, Brooks at 18. Cantlay, Xander, Homa, 22, along with Morikawa, Cam Smith. Ludwig, your guy, is also 22. Ludwig, 22-1 to win the Masters. Dustin Johnson, 25-1 to win the Masters. Fun times.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. So I have 3 bets already for the Masters, Pat.
Okay. I have no bets for anything golf related as it pertains to 2024. So please sell me on who's going to win the Masters.
So there's nothing I can really sell here, but my 3 bets should surprise nobody. I have like the 24, 25s on Hovland that were still around late into last year. I have 100-1 on Ludwig that I probably bet before he even won that PGA event that got him in here, but I just wanted it. And I have Minwoo Lee at 80. So those are the bets that I have for the Masters at the moment.
I didn't realize that you had Minwoo, but I was just scrolling to see if I can go bet him. He is 66-1, 65-1 at DraftKings Sportsbook. I need to go find a better number on a book that I can use right now because I want to bet Minwoo Lee too. After the disaster that was last year, he drove the 3rd green and made a bogey in the first round. That was the end of Minwoo. We didn't even talk. We didn't even talk about him in the risers, like the biggest stock up from 2023. He has to be one of them.
Yeah, I think I did mention him when you asked me for a breakout. But yeah, absolutely. And he's gotten off to a great start, and we're sort of, I mean, his form at the moment is amazing, so it's easy to get caught up in. But yeah, he posted a fun little Twitter video that he's full-time PGA now too. So he's probably going to be around at all these like jobber events, and he's going to be like 22-1, Pat, like 18-1.
I think
on,
Moronk
like, the shitty fields.
I think Moronk has taken his full card this year too, and Wacky Valimaki we'll see more of, but not one of the Hoygards.
Yeah, but hey,
one of the Hoygards didn't get it.
It's the Masters, so like, what are you doing? Like, you just pick which super elite player you think is going to win, and don't waste time like making a card of like a bunch of long shots. Like, you just go all in on one guy or two guys. Like who wins the Masters? The best players in the world. It's who wins the Masters. You know, long shots winning the Masters.
Well,
we did that once.
I remember a time when a long shot did win a Master, and it's the reason that this show is still on the air today.
Yes, probably. It gave us the air in the tire, a little bit of credibility, yeah, and equity with some members of the audience.
It'd be nice to do that again, but even looking at it, like it's so funny to see the odds now. This is the 9th year that we've done this show, previewing the major championships before the season has started. If you had told a decade ago us that there was 35 players under 50-1 on a futures market for the Masters, we would have laughed you out of the building. Like, Min Woo is 65-1 today at DraftKings Sportsbook. If DraftKings Sportsbook had been in existence 10 years ago, he would have been 150-1.
Yes, I couldn't have put that any better. It is impossible now. The amount of players, how they squeeze it, they really don't let you get them on the futures market. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're afraid of. Like, they should be so happy to sit on your money right now.
No,
like they should be.
No, because they still are sitting on the money. Like at this point, we've done shows like even as soon as 4 years ago. I would have 3 bets in on the Masters. You would have like 6 in, and our cards would basically be done by now, and we'd add on as it went along because we'd be able to pick off good numbers. People are still making bets on this at the terrible odds. And maybe it's just me. Maybe the odds are, listen, they're not more fair. They're completely unfair. The amount of handle that's taken on these futures markets is quite ridiculous. I mean, on a regular golf tournament, it's pretty ridiculous. In these future markets for majors, but it's not stopping anyone from betting it because people want to say that they got, oh man, I really wanted to bet Sung Jae at 40-1. Like, what are the chances that Sung Jae is shorter than 40-1 come April? Like 5% at this point? He's probably going to be 66-1, 70-1 the week of. So why bet it now?
That was the point I was going to make, is we actually, while we don't see any competition in the futures market, I've noticed we do see competition in the marketplace like the weeks of the tournaments, and the numbers get a lot higher. In terms of betting Masters futures, granted, I said the ones that I have, two of them are 80 and 100-1. So make of that what you will. I'm just not ready to make my decision. Like, I don't know right now. I don't want to decide Rahm, Scheffler, Brooks, Rory right now. Like, I don't want to make that decision today. And if I lose a couple points by having to make it in like 3-4 months from now, like, that's fine. But I'm not ready to decide which super elite is winning this thing this year. So I have no real interest in getting involved in the betting market. And they've cut the knees out on the players who I would probably be interested in being allowed to bet. I did see a lot of people, like Zalatoris hit a putt maybe on like the first thing of the
hero.
And like people were running to bet him at 50-1, which maybe is good. Like maybe,
yeah,
I guess I'll be jealous of those guys when the
Sure.
Masters comes and he won something on the West Coast to start the year. But
the only way that, I mean, here's why I don't think that's a good bet. Because whatever number he would have to, I mean, there are circumstances where this doesn't happen, but whatever number that you will hit for him to win in one of the West Coast events is probably going to be very similar to this number that you just bet him at to win the Masters. Because the only way that his Masters number crumbles is if something like that happens, and there's going to be no faith in Zalatoris at any of these tournaments until he actually does something coming off of the injury. So you can probably bet Zalatoris at the similar number at the American Express instead of betting him at the Masters.
that's well, okay. To that point, then, and I think DraftKings took it down, Pat. But forever, this swing season, this winter, up until Rahm's move became official, And it's kind of embarrassing to say. I pretty much do have like, oh no, they have them up. They have Waste Management odds up on DraftKings. And to your exact point, you can bet Will Zalatoris right now to win in Phoenix. And he might be there, and it's not going to be an elevated, it's not an elevated event. It's after Pebble, which is elevated. I don't know if he's in that still. Anyhow, that's your exact point, is you'll probably be able to get Will Zalatoris to win 40-1 a regular tournament. Why are you betting him 40-1 to win a major?
Yeah. And he would, in order for that number to be a good number by the time Augusta rolls around, he would actually probably have to have won something in between, or had like 2 seconds, and then you wouldn't win anyway. But that would be the shitty part about it. But I would take my chances at some of the weaker tournaments, maybe some of the harder venues like a Riv or the Farmers, something like that, against a weaker field, versus when everyone shows up, including the LIV guys at Augusta, when he's still coming off the injury. So, and to your point, like, the books don't want to hold your money for that long. They want you to churn that money over week so they can get their rake every single way.
I don't think they mind.
They don't mind.
I don't know. So why?
But they're going to make you pay a premium to do that and not spend that money betting week over week.
Yeah, of course. And I always like the true professional gambler, like they laugh at anyone, even at a good number, even at a number they would deem fair. They'd laugh at me for putting like $100 on a golf future in like 5-6 months from now. Cause they're like, dude, I take that $100. I turn it into 200. You know, I do with that 200, I turn it into 400, and so on and so on. You're an idiot for giving them your $100. You could turn that into thousands.
Once again, you should play in the one and done, because it starts at the Sony Open. So you still have 2 weeks to get yourself in it. It will fill very quickly. So go to fantasygolfchampionships.com right now and get 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 entries. There's a $1,000 one and done as well that I usually end up playing in every year and come like dead last. So I'm like a free $1,000 in that one if you want to come play it. PGA Championship is back at Valhalla Golf Club in Kentucky for the first time in 1 decade. In 2014, Rory won his second consecutive major championship, and that was the last time he won a major. He outlasted Phil Mickelson and Ricky Fowler in darkness. The time before that was 2000 when Tiger won, which was when he beat Bob May in the playoff. He had the point walking in the 17-foot putt on the 72nd hole to get in to, I think that was the one, right? That was the point putt from Tiger?
Yeah.
And then
May, that was the PGA, yeah.
Yeah, and then 1996 was the time before that. Mark Brooks won in a sudden death playoff against Kenny Perry, marking his only major championship win. Nothing I can really, I don't know how good of a driver of the ball Mark Brooks was, but it's kind of strange to see like those different style of names, like Tiger and Rory, when they're the past 2 champions at anything, that points like the highest pedigree of player possible for that time. Is this the Vic spot?
Yeah, Vic or Scheffler. Like the highest pedigree possible. Vic or Scheffler. Or like John Rahm, who I believe is the best player in the world. Like there again. How can you bet a long shot in these future markets with that sort of situation unless it's an enormous number on somebody?
Well, it hasn't come through, and I think we think of this as a very binary thing of this guy won or this guy lost. The PGA Championship, for my money, has been the best major, each of the past 3 years, maybe 4 years.
Not even close.
At this point?
Not even close. Between course selection, the guys playing for it at the end, they have... And 9 years ago, when we started this, I used to be like, it was like the stepchild of majors. It was like no one ever wants, and I would still probably say like kids don't grow up wanting to like hit an 8-footer to win the PGA unless you're Justin Thomas and that was your dad's thing. You're like a Masters or a US Open, or if a European, an Open Championship. But this tournament, it's just been magical. It's been the best major, hands down. It's not even close, I don't think. What they do each year.
But we forget that Connors, outside of plugging the ball, was very much in the mix this year. Hell, Michael Block was in the mix this year at super duper long odds. And then Brooks ends up winning as one of the favorites with Vic there in second. So that's what we remember. The year before, Thomas was one of the favorites. We all had Zalatoris at like a pretty decent number. But it was a 100-1 Mito Pereira that probably should have won that tournament if he doesn't put it in the drink on the 72nd hole. So we've had long shots alive. Hell, Phil won at 200-1 against Brooks 3 years ago, or whatever the hell that was. So long shots have been in play for this tournament, and they've only won one of the 3 times. But when you get a long shot into the mix I think the Open Championship will always be the one because of the elements, because of the shorter courses, the fescue, the rain, the wind, whatever it might be, that you do have a better chance at a longer shot for some of those tournaments. It now feels like the PGA is number 2, where for a long time it didn't feel that way at all, that it was always like the best guys that won.
Yeah, there's a good chance you can cash in each way that will pay more than the winner. I think we might have done that with Luke List a few years ago on a Brooks one.
That was a Beth.
I mean that.
Yeah.
Like the Luke List each way paid as much as the Brooks win, like in the teens. That's possible. You're entirely right. And if I got to think that way, like, I don't know, like true pedigree and striking, like Tom Kim might be a guy, but I don't want to bet it. I'm not ready to make any commitment there. I do have one bet here, and it should surprise nobody, and it was made in the flurry with the others. I have Ludwig at 100-1.
So you have Ludwig to win all 4 majors. Like you have a single bet
No,
on
I
him.
think it just ends at the US. I didn't bet the Open. The PGA was the one that made Ludwig. And you want to know something? Just as we were doing this, Pat, I just wanted to confirm to look at it on DraftKings. But when you have to go that far into your open bets, you come across things like Justin Herbert to win NFL MVP for a lot of money, and it makes me not feel good.
That's too bad. Maybe you can win it back somewhere else. Maybe they'll gift you a Super Bowl next year. Who knows? The one I was looking at, you don't need to bet it now, but the one that I have my eye on for this would be, I think this is a better Keegan spot than some of the other ones, like some of the other major championships. He's 100-1. Right now. He has won a PGA championship in the past. And when you tell me that like Mark Brooks and Bob May and Kenny Perry, I know that they seem old to us now. At the time, obviously, they weren't super old, but they weren't super young either, that Keegan kind of fits into that category. Hell, Phil wasn't young in 2014.
Yeah, so this is what's important to me as I'm looking at this board here, Pat, because I think 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, I'm a man of my word. Like what I said in the previous show about betting Thomas Pieters every single live event. When I inquire about Joaquin Niemann's major status, it is because I have a 10-year contract of betting him to win the PGA Championship. And we're only in year 3.
Is he in?
I don't know.
I don't think he is.
But I see some books have an 80-1.
Yeah, but they're not afraid they're not afraid to post guys for you to bet on who don't play, so they can just take you. Those are the easiest winning bets a sportsbook can have.
But it's sort of like he is the prototypical PGA player for me, and that's why I felt so silly when it was Mito, the other Chilean, doing it like the first year of my deal with Niemann. But yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Like I could see a Niemann, a Sam Burns having great success at Valhalla, and even Corey Connors again, to be perfectly honest, to have a lovely PGA championship.
Let's see, PGA Championship, Martin Keimer, Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson, Bryson, DJ, and Cam Smith, and now Rahm are the players who are exempt from LIV Tour into the PGA Championship as it stands right now.
Yeah, and I don't know. Niemann didn't really make. Was it me? I think it was Mito last year who really made no effort to qualify for the majors he wasn't in anyway. I don't know what some of these guys are like, what they care about, but I'll bet Niemann if he's there. I'd love to get an 80-1 on him. I mean that. That'd be great.
Does this fall in line with what you were talking about, the great course selections for the PGA Championship?
I am like, don't put myself out to be a course snob, but I have fantastic major championship like I was enthralled with that showdown last time they were there, and I was excited to hear they're coming back. Yeah, so I try, like, everything they've done, they've hit a home run. I don't even question them anymore, Pat. This is like, how do I put this? One of the greatest things in life of being a sports fan when it happens is having a GM so good that he can make any transaction and you blindly be like, yeah, I think I know things, but like that guy is the best. And I don't even have to question it, and I can put head to pillow. Is my opinion of the PGA of America right now and this tournament and the setup of this tournament year in, year out. They did it. They picked it. They've got all my trust in the world that it's going to be a true banger because they haven't failed in a while.
So it's funny. After you get past, Rory won at Valhalla. Phil came second. Ricky actually ended up in a tie for third with Stenson. The names after him on that list are really interesting. It's Furyk, Mahan, Stricker, and Jimmy Walker, and Ryan Palmer. Texas guys. Well, I guess Wisconsin for Stricker. But, not the biggest bombers, just kind of your collection of...
But Walker's a huge hitter, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah, I think he was a bit of a beast.
And he ended up winning the PGA Championship as well. A few years
he won the one in Charlotte, I think.
Yeah, like Palmer's was, especially at the time.
Or no, Justin Thomas won in Charlotte. Which one did Jimmy
win? Bellerive, I think.
Okay.
Wait, is that, Baltusrol or Bellerive? One of the two. He beat Jason Day.
Baltusrol. I think Bellerive was Brooks.
That's right. With the tiger walking out, all the people there. It was that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Mahan wasn't the biggest here. Dubesson came in second as well. He just retired. Shout out to my guy, Mr. Frenchman with the long cigarette, Victor Dubesson, probably the dernière fois we end up saying his name on the show. Although he's a legacy mention on the show, I think, over the past decade. Mr. Victor Dubesson from France.
Yeah, I said many times, we weren't even doing shows, but that was like the first week we met. Was that week of that match play and that under the cactus and the silliness. And yeah.
Oh, boy. You know who tied for fourth place when Tiger won in 2000?
Nope.
He's a guy who's taken money out of your pocket before. It was Super Nintendo Chalmers.
So what does that say? Like, and I don't even pretend to, like, I'm sure there have been renovations. Like, where did we go in Oklahoma? That was like a totally redone course last year.
Hills.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Have they redone this place? I don't know. I don't pretend to know.
That is not the kind of research that ChatGPT spit out to me when I was researching these courses. U.S. Open. We're back at Pinehurst, number 2, which is a lot of fun. The last time we were here, we watched Martin Keimer run away from the competition, and Eric Compton, I believe, ended up coming second place. Yeah, second place. Eric Compton, along with Ricky Fowler. Good year for Ricky Fowler. Top fives at a bunch of majors. Keegan, Day, Dustin, Brooks, and Stenson were all fourth. Snedeker, Jimmy Walker, and Adam Scott came in ninth, but it was an 8-stroke victory for Martin Keimer that year in 2014. It was there in 2005 as well. Michael Campbell from New Zealand ended up becoming the champion. Tiger put a run in, but couldn't get there. And then in 1999, Payne Stewart was the champion. He had a par-saving putt on the final hole to secure his victory. It was just before he died as well. That was kind of like the last big thing that we remember about Payne Stewart was winning that U.S. Open. So it's a lot different than most of the other U.S. Open venues. There's waste areas everywhere, weird sand. You could have the worst lies in the world. It has those like upside down bowl greens where one of the reasons, like when we reverse engineer why Keimer was able to be so successful there, I would have to go back and watch the play-by-play, but I can't imagine he chipped all that often with a wedge. A lot of putting from off of the green because you can do that at this. If you're not in the sand, you can just kind of putt it from wherever. And if you can't get the ball to hold onto the green, which no one was really able to do outside of him that week, that it's a lot on your short game, but like some of these different venues that you can kind of approach it in many different ways, what you want to do from off the green. So a terrible short game player like Keimer was still able to persevere that week.
Is there any Martin Keimer, Pat? I think that could be the last time, like ever since Martin Keimer won, and I guess there was the Spieth Chambers Bay, it's been a very consistent like player profile that has won the U.S. Open.
Bombers.
And like to deviate from that player's profile, like on your betting card seems silly. Like I am going to bet, I don't mean the same guys, but Dustin Johnson light, Dustin Johnson elite versions. Like those are the type of guys that I bet at the US Open. Like that skill set only. And if I get burned, I get burned. But last year I didn't pick Wyndham Clark, but he kind of is that skill set, was he not? And he got the putter.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The putter got hot. The short game was good, but he is a bomber. And especially at last year's U.S. Open, you could basically miss anywhere if you weren't too far offline, as long as you just hit it a mile. That ended up being, I mean, the first round was so much different than the rest of the rounds because it had played so easy, and then it played a lot tougher as the week went along. But to take a look back at the leaderboard from the Michael Campbell year in 2005, like Tim Clark is up there. Davis Love is up there. Like these weren't big. Rocco Mediate is up there. Like those aren't big hitters for the time at all. Like Tim Clark is your quintessential hit fairways. Like I'm trying to think of who his equivalent would be today. I mean, he was better.
I can guess one.
Who?
Well, and it'd be important to note, but if his family, it's a nice place. So there's a good chance the Fitzpatrick family took a family vacation here when they were younger. Matt Fitzpatrick? That's a bad example.
See, Matt Fitzpatrick doesn't do anything well. Like some weeks he does everything well, other weeks he doesn't do anything well. I would say he's kind of like Tim Clark, sort of like a better putting, lesser version of Morikawa, or like a lesser version of Furyk. But he's that fairways, irons, and Tim Clark made a ton of putts throughout the course of his career. But this actually could be a really nice Morikawa spot.
Yeah,
don't get yourself into trouble. Hit your irons well. Hopefully, like if chipping is difficult for everyone and you have many options, whether you want to play a bump and run or you can putt from off the green, maybe that helps Morikawa and giving him more options.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at the board and like I don't know. My eyes are like I'm not ready to make a bet or anything, but if it gets stupid, like a Hatton has my attention around the greens. And
no, but I'm saying I don't think being really good around the greens is going to do. It will always be helpful, but I don't think that's going to be a separator. Like at some U.S. Opens it can be, but other U.S. Opens the rough is so bad, like it doesn't really matter how good you are from around the greens. It just really depends on how good you can make 17-foot par putts.
It's a good point. If Adam Scott can find his irons again, because he's a better putter these days.
But I think there's something with the USGA.
How did he do it?
With Morikawa? The past 3 U.S. Opens, 4th, 5th, and 14th for Morikawa.
And it's sneaky because he's not the bomber.
No.
So he's playing above. Like Morikawa's an incredible player and a major resume, and this isn't to knock him, but to hear those results for him at a U.S. Open, like he's playing above board. Even like based on what I think should be succeeding there. So I actually give those finishes more credit than as high as they are, to be honest. Okay, you could be onto something here, Pat.
We'll see. I don't need to do too much arm twisting to myself to talk myself into Morikawa. A lot of the time.
No, it's far away, but I'm curious what the best number is for him, just as a baseline as the season goes. So
right now at DraftKings Sportsbook, it's 25-1. I assume you can find better numbers.
Yeah, and like why you don't need a run to do that. There'll be
absolutely not. Open Championship. This one is going to be, I think, the hardest to pull. I mean, they're all going to be difficult to pull historic data from because we just talked about 2 courses that we haven't seen in a rotation in a decade. But with Troon, especially the last time we saw it, it really made no sense. There were like 6 guys in the entire tournament who just got gifted a great weather wave, and they all finished inside the top 6. And Stenson and Phil ran away with it, which made it's the only major I can remember that was essentially a match play tournament in the final round.
It was a bit and Brooks kind of felt like that a bit this year, but yeah, it doesn't happen often.
Bit.
Woodland and Brooks at the U.S. Open, but Woodland had like a 4-shot lead going into Sunday. So
yeah, but this one, like they were like 8 up on the field or something stupid like that. It was on JB Holmes, I think. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know what you can take from it. I keep saying I'm sorry, I want to smack myself.
Yeah, going into the final round,
I want to overrate Tom Kim's performance.
Stenson was 12 under, Phil was 11 under. Then to go down, it was Bill Haas, Beef, JB Holmes and Soren Kelson in Stricker and Finau. Everyone else was at least 5 shots back of those two. So it was a 2-man race.
And what about the time before that?
The time before that was 2004 when, who the hell won in 2004? Oh, it was Todd Hamilton who won in 2004. He beat Ernie in a playoff. Then you had Ernie, lost in the playoff to Todd Hamilton. Phil was a shot back. Westwood was 3 shots back. Goosen, Weir, and Tiger were all inside the top 10 along with Davis Love. So although we had the outlier winner that year, essentially everyone else who was inside the top 10 was like the who's who of the day.
Interesting. I mean, I've bragged about a couple Ludwig tickets in the other majors. I don't have anything here. Like nor am I like wanting to have anything at this moment in time. I don't have a clue. Tom Kim finished second third this past year or something stupid.
Tom Kim at Pinehurst as well actually makes a lot of sense. When we think about accuracy and wedges, that kind of thing.
High on Tom Kim. Although he lost his caddy to Ludwig.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Scovey went. I don't know what that's about. Like, good for Skovrin, fellow Chargers fan. Like, I don't know. Like, Ludwig calls you and be like, "You want my bag?" And then he has this decision between the two best like babies in the game. Like, what a life that must be. And I'll tell you this, Pat, it's great news for all of us who played the Ludwig 40-1s in Phoenix on DraftKings, who had that future with Skovrin, with Ricky's old caddy on the bag. Back to the Open. Hideki. But I wouldn't bet it. Did I get disconnected?
No, that was just a very odd Hideki. I wouldn't bet it. I don't think we've mentioned Hideki's name in the past 2 hours.
I just mean, like, I'm not running to bet Hideki 50-1. Like, I have no conviction to actually go make a bet and have it sit there forever. This is July, right?
Yeah.
I don't like anyone that much.
This is the longest away of all of these things.
You know, like most majors, like which super elite do I want to like sort of put all my chips on that week? I'm not ready to make that decision.
Always, the Open Championship always sticks out to me as the Masters is always going to be there, but there seems to be a lot of demons there for him that if you're going to get another Spieth, it feels like the Open Championship, just in weird conditions, chipping in from wherever, that it would just be Jordan Spieth-esque.
Okay, you haven't mentioned him this whole 2 hours, and since other than your grandma hating him.
Yeah. I think if he wins one of these majors, my grandma might kick the bucket at 90, so I kind of hoping he doesn't win.
You're going to blame Jordan Spieth.
Well, you know what? She also hates Rory, and Rory, God bless him, hasn't won a major in a decade. Nan's still kicking, so.
Those are two very interesting people to hate. Like, those are the two players that golf world wants to put on a pedestal and like cheer for at all costs. Is that why she hates them, I guess?
Nana Rita, real contrarian.
I don't know. Like if Cam Smith is really good, like his numbers at all the majors, even though we haven't really mentioned him, seem like ones that if you asked me to like have to bet, it'd be like Cam's that flirt with 30-1 that I'd feel happy to take to the event.
He seems
if he needed a pick from me.
Yeah, he seems a bit. I don't know, like he's 22-1. Is he 22-1 or 30-1 for the Open?
I've seen it as high as 28.
Well, this show is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. What are you seeing it at?
I am seeing it at. I'm on there right now. Okay. Well, he's
18
at DraftKings.
Yeah, like I'm not doing that right now.
No, and even like, come on, to bet. Like Hatton's 28-1 on DraftKings, Fleetwood's 25, Fowler's 28, like total no go. But your boy Morikawa has got a 30.
I'll take Thirsty Lawrence at 200-1. Thank you. Guy loves a links course.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is maybe where you try to identify. This is so far down the road in the year that, yeah, maybe this is where you do try to identify the guy who is 150 to 1, who you think's actually going to have a decent year and is going to play this tournament at 50 to 1. And you could maybe think you got a pulse. I'm not smart enough to know who that is. I wouldn't even pretend. Wouldn't even pretend. Benny Ann, 150 to 1.
It's funny. I just looked at that, and Kitayama at 150 to 1 as well. Great wind
Tiger,
player.
100.
You know what? Kitayama, great wind player, great in conditions, and very familiar, and has wins on the European Tour. Why not?
Yeah.
And he's someone I could see taking a leap again this year. It's funny that his number is back in the realm of Denny McCarthy, Chris Kirk, and Alex Noren, considering he won an elevated event a year ago. Like he's very Seb Straka-esque in that way, where he could win any of these events. He can come dead last too, and he comes dead last more than he wins.
Dead last more than he wins. Yeah, but hey, if you're not playing each ways, missing the cut feels the same as 5th place.
Exactly. Let's talk President's Cup.
Ooh.
We talked Ryder Cup a lot last year, and a lot of that had to do with the LIV situation, that we didn't know who was and who was not going to play. And we're still in that same boat this year. Unfortunately, it's the President's Cup, so most people don't care. Problem is, we're Canadian, it's in Canada, so we kind of have to care about this. So we're going to talk about the President's Cup way more than I think that you're going to find in any other outlet.
Yeah, so you're right. That's a good point. We care. It is here. It's close. It's close by. It kind of matters. I would argue last year's Ryder Cup discourse, Pat, I'd argue it had very little to do with LIV. Very, very little. Their players really weren't contenders for the European team, even if they were on the PGA Tour. And on the American side, it was more so like what at Christmas felt like you could predict that roster very likely, or within 11 of 12, it all kind of like was all over the map. And that happened when Wyndham and Harmon won majors and other guys went totally backwards. So I just think it became incredibly fascinating, like golf conversation. And the Glover and Key, like it was just Ricky. This is multi-layered, fascinating, that didn't have to do with LIV and just showed how excited people get to just talk golf. As for the President's Cup, yeah, happy. I mean, the American team is what it is. They get Zalatoris back probably as a for sure. Everything else is up in the air, but it'd be fun to maybe guess the international squad.
Yeah, we can try to do that just to give you some context on the course, depending on who you believe as the arbiter of history. Royal Montreal is the oldest golf course in North America. It's already had a President's Cup. It hasn't had a Canadian Open since Tim Clark, who we were talking about a little bit earlier, won a while ago. If you remember this President's Cup, it was in 2007. It was the one where Weir beat Tiger in singles when it didn't matter, and Woody Austin fell in the water. There's water everywhere at this course. So I think that makes a fun dynamic for a President's Cup.
The last President's Cup had a charm to it, even though it was a blowout. Like it felt there was like a charm to it. The internationals kept it closer, even though the final score wasn't close. The matches felt much more competitive.
Whoa, hold on. Are you talking about the one in Montreal or like the last overall President's Cup?
The last overall
that
one,
wasn't close.
I believe,
at all.
the Quail Hollow.
That wasn't close at all. That was about as close as this year's Ryder Cup.
No, but the matches felt.
I mean, I don't know what that means. The matches felt close. They weren't close, and they weren't close on the scoreboard. The one in Australia,
I won a lot of money, but I don't know it
because you won a lot of money. It felt close. The one in Australia was a real competition.
I know. It felt like the internationals have a bit of charm, but they lost the LIV guys. I remember it being more competitive than I thought it would be at Quail Hollow.
I think you're misremembering that.
Not like the actual final score, but just sort of some of the matches. I don't know. They have to be allowed the LIV players. They have to be allowed the LIV players.
They're absolutely screwed if there's no LIV players on this team. So let's try to guess the international team. The American team is going to unfold how it unfolds. It's going to have all their good players and, probably Brooks. We'll see if Bryson can get himself back into the mix. Like, whatever. They're going to probably have 12 of the best 16 players in this. But if we try to go the other way and try to guess the best internationals or how this team is going to be constructed, Mike Weir is the captain. It's in Canada. There's going to be at least one Canadian on this team. If there's no LIV, there might be two Canadians on this team. But I would say that Corey Connors is your most logical, at least captain's pick for this team.
Yes, but I don't even think that's a Canadian glad hand. I believe he's worthy of this being on this team.
I mean, is he even ahead of Nick Taylor in terms of world golf ranking at this point? Like, Nick Taylor had the better year. He won and came second at an elevated event.
I don't care.
Okay. So after that, Tom Kim.
Sung Jae.
Oh, that's a story that we didn't mention. Of all the best stories from the year were Siwoo and Sung Jae getting out of their military service by winning at the Asian Games.
Love it.
So Tom Kim, Sung Jae, Hideki.
You wouldn't put Siwoo yet?
No. We're including LIV guys, right?
Yeah.
All right, so Scott and Day.
And Cam.
Do you think Louis plays well enough to get back here?
I mean, in this moment, he's just won twice in a row on DP, so I want to give him a spot.
Okay, so we'll give it to Louis. We'll give it to Fox, who's like inside the top 25 in the world rankings at this point.
Minwoo.
And Minwoo would be the other one. And then you're into like Griot.
Neiman,
Mito. So I think Neiman would be the more logical choice. So Neiman.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. If we include Connors. If we throw in Mito, that's 12, and that's the entire team.
Are we forgetting someone like obvious? Probably.
I'm trying to think from a South African perspective. No. Like, there's going to be, like, Siwoo has a chance to make this team. Cam Davis has a chance to make this team. Griot would have a chance to make the team.
Yeah, even EVR, like, will have a chance.
EVR, Nick Taylor, like, if one of the other Canadians plays well, they could just take Connor's spot if he doesn't play well. But Lucas Herbert might be another name to throw around. Burmeister, if he, like, torches it on LIV, who knows? I'm trying to find the LIV ride. Is there, like, one obvious LIV guy we're just not thinking of?
Is Leishman still in play?
I don't think so. I think Leishman's probably done. Trying to see. Poulter, no.
The other, like, super kid is Belgian, right?
Yeah.
And, like,
Adrian.
Chikara's Spain. I don't know. Is there a Japanese whiz kid coming?
There's the
Kurt
guy.
Kitayama. I know he's American.
Yeah. There was a guy that didn't make it through Q school. I think he came 5th. He was the top amateur in the world. He just won the Japanese tour. Forget what his name is. He didn't qualify for the PGA Tour, but we'll be seeing him, I think, a little bit this year, so it could be him.
Maybe your boy Carl Wan has his breakout.
Crazy Carl. Get that Chinese money in there. Probably not going to.
Yeah, I think that's it. And if they can, they probably will try to glad hand a second Canadian onto the team.
Answer.
But okay. Yeah.
I don't think he's a lock. Him and Ortiz would be well behind the 8 ball with Answer ahead of Ortiz, but I think that's those two names have to be in the conversation at least.
Answer seems like a lovely course fit, though.
Yes, based on what we said, yeah. Him and I always think that him and Connors would make an awesome President's Cup team because they do the same things well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Answers for sure on the team.
Why? He didn't do anything last year. Anything. Like, eventually, like, you have to pop. He won that weird Asian tour event at the very beginning of the year, and I couldn't help
Okay, you're right. I'm sort of giving him a free pass on last year because I have, like, no memory of it and, like, just sort of reputation and name recognition.
Yeah,
so
that's not going to, especially if you're LIV, that's not going to get you on the team. You need to do. So his year last year was 39th at the Masters, missed the cut at the PGA, 54th at the U.S. Open, 49th at the Open. That's not cutting it, pal.
Yeah, no, that's not cutting it. Can't think of anyone else.
Villegas.
Yeah, you have your Vajegas, your Vegas, but those guys, Griot feels like them, like has a pulse.
I would agree. All right, let's end it with let's play the stock market. Stock up, stock down. Because we talked about this on the recap show. Guys that lost some of their mojo throughout the course of the season, and guys that went up. Who do you think are the guys this year? Like, if you had to pick like 3 guys to say, hey, their stock today is a lot less than it's going to be 12 months from now.
Ooh, geez, that kind of puts me on the spot. Who am I selling? Oh, I'm way too high on the board to want to sell any of those players.
It is tough to do,
I'm too big of
especially because Valhalla is a Jack Nicklaus course, and this guy plays really well at Jack Nicklaus courses. But with the upgrade in responsibility for Patrick Cantlay, like apparently like masterminding everything that's going on in the PGA Tour, I could see him having a down year.
No, well, I mean, I stare at him, but I feel like I picked on him too much in this last. He gets picked on too much. That's kind of low hanging fruit. Ricky Fowler.
Down year for Ricky?
Yeah.
What would be a down year for Ricky, though?
That's a fair question because he doesn't have to win to sort of keep his status quo. So you're right. That's probably like a cheat because that he's an equality of player. Like, what is a down year? Like, good players don't even win in the season.
I got another one for you. Down year from Scotty Scheffler.
No,
He had a historic ball striking year and was unable to capitalize. Not to say that he's going to be bad, but if his ball striking isn't in like the realm of what he did this year, he's going to have some bad tournaments.
Okay, that's fair. But if he like all he has, I'm about to say something that's going to sound silly, but all he has to do is win one major and it's a better year.
Sure, but
And like all he has to do is win the major.
Well, Jeff, here's the thing: if one of these guys wins any major, then the prediction is wrong now, isn't it?
Yeah, I
What are you going
I
to say?
guess,
That,
but
so
what
every
makes
good
Scotty's
player
year
is going to have a
worse?
good year because they might win a major, so you can't pick them.
No, but what do you make Scott like? What would make Scotty's year worse? Like contending less,
Yeah,
winning
I
less.
mean, the guy came top 5 at like every tournament and had the best statistical year ball striking wise since 2000 Tiger or better.
Yeah, I mean to be fair, like based on odds, like and expectations, the easiest answer here could be Ludwig
Or Vic.
Like yeah, like they've kind of accelerated too much that now like maybe there's got to be a dip before we push him up over the top again. I it's like you know, you got to bet these guys at numbers that like anything but winning or anything but contending makes you feel like stupid for betting them. You don't feel that way when you bet a guy at like 55-1.
Correct. So I will say my leap this year is going to be Max Homa. To leap into the actual upper echelon, a lot like Vic did this year. Because as we spoke about previously, he didn't get credit for kind of actually doing that this year, that I think that he takes another leap up now.
I don't know if this is fair, but my leap is going to be Tom Kim.
Okay.
I think, like, obviously, no one knows he's a great young player, but I think he's going to win. Like, he won the Wyndham and the Shriners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, now we're about to put a big boy pants. I don't know what counts as big boy pants now. Like, you know, with Rom gone, like, obviously, still the elevated events are big boys, but yeah, Tom Kim, he's gonna hit the sphere this year.
All right, let's go to some of these viewer questions. I asked you fine people out there, and you responded. So let's get to them. We know Jeff's tournament legitimacy formula equals are Victor and Ludwig going to be there? Question is, what's Pat's legitimate tournament criteria? I don't have weirdo rules like this. I just like watching golf. So basically any tournament. All right, well, that's a terrible question. What else do we have? Everyone talks about guys taking a leap. Who's going to have a step down from the elite? We just did that. Who is the most realistic hire for NBC to fill the... We already did that one. Apparently, we didn't even need to ask questions. We just could have done the show and then put it back. Will Bryson win a major this year, Jeff?
I mean, the easy answer is no. Like, if it's yes or no, then no. But I think he sets up well a lot of places.
Will PGA Tour Live give us a true cut cam on the 8th, 9th, 17th, and 18th hole on Fridays this year? I can almost assuredly guarantee you, no.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, it's still no. They're not important enough.
Best young player with the best chance for a breakthrough at a major. Aubert, Sungjae, Theegala, Hovland, or someone else?
I guess I just answered that by saying Tom Kim. So obviously I love the Aubert and Hovland, but going a different direction, Tom Kim.
Yeah, I mean, Hovland's the overwhelming favorite to be that guy. I think that when we see Aubert this year, that I could see him not having, I don't want to say a great year, but it took a while for Victor to get to where he is right now. And that's sort of like the player equivalency that we would draw, right?
Yeah, I mean, it'll just be interesting what sort of schedule Oberg wants to play. Like he could go, if he wants to be like a Sungjae, he could bully some really shitty fields like he did on his arrival onto the tour, right? And that could get like just catapult some confidence.
Yeah, a lot of these questions are like really stupid, like will Hideki contend at a big tournament? I don't give a shit about that. How about this one though? Like good ones. So I'll pick out the good ones here. What are the odds of Jay Monahan handing out the FedEx Cup trophy in 2024?
Plus 340.
I'm going to say minus 300. I think he sticks around. He sticks around until all these
he's like the PGA's very own Netanyahu. Like, we got problems, but this guy still got to hang around till we fix some of them.
That's the thing. Like, and then he can go away, and he can
and then we're going to kick the shit out of you.
Yeah,
like,
he can be blamed for everything.
Door.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's what happens to him. So it depends on how fast some of these deals get done and what the agreement is and the arrangement is with LIV and some of these other places. Then he can take his bag and go home.
You're probably right.
Will Victor be the world's number one by the end of 2024, Jeff?
Well, I don't know how Rom qualifies into this, so I'm going to say, yeah, sure. You want my answer? Yeah.
I'm going to say Which signature event are you guys looking forward to the most in 2024? Mine is Pebble Beach.
Yeah, you made a great point because Pebble's always kind of got that great feel. And now that if it's going to have the feel that it hasn't had forever, it could bring back some good vibes. Is Bay Hill still elevated?
I believe so. I like Bay Hill year over year, but I just think for this year in particular that we haven't seen the top players in the world take on Pebble since Woodland won the major there. And now, we get to see them at Spyglass. Not that we get to see it, but they'll play at Spyglass. I think they may have cut out Monterey Peninsula this year. The Pro-Am has been cut down, which is just terrific news. So it'll be nice to see the best players tackle one of the most historic and beautiful courses.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on a 2024 bounce back for Justin Thomas? I think it's going to happen.
Pretty confident that last year's the outlier.
Are we going to get a live Tim versus Jeff golf outing this year? I suppose if you come down during the summer, we could get that done.
Yeah, we could make something work. That would be interesting.
I wonder how many shots you would have to give him.
I'm not sure. It depends where we're at, but I'm not sure.
See, we covered a lot of these questions. Oh, you know what? Here's a guy we did not bring up. I think we brought him up once to shit on him in the first part of this show. Yes or no? Does Tommy Fleetwood get a win this year?
Yes.
Yes. Wow.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Yeah, this is the question that I asked earlier. How many majors does Brooks need to win to become the best golfer of the past 15 years, or is he already there? I don't think anyone would say he's the best golfer of the past 15 years. As weird as that might sound, with him having the most majors, he doesn't have the...
can you make a quarterback comparison to him? Because he's not Eli Manning.
You know who he is?
Like, he's better than that.
He's what's his name? Oh, my God. The running back from the Broncos who's in the Hall of Fame. He had like 3 really good years.
Terrell Davis?
Terrell Davis. That's who Brooks is. And just you have to think about the truncation of a running back's career. Like 2.5 really awesome peak years as an NFL running back is like 20 great years as a golfer.
Yeah, I know. I maybe would have agreed with that had he not come back this year and done it again, though. Like, he's really extending this timeline here.
I mean, Brooks hasn't even been around for 10 years, has he? Wasn't 2014 the first year of his like real PGA career?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would be hard to call him. It would be hard to put him over Rory if we're talking about past 15 years, or even Spieth, who have just done more outside of the majors. And like Rory has 4, Spieth has 3, Brooks has 5. Like, you know, we're fiddling around there with the other numbers, but you look outside, the impact that they've had, be it in the FedEx Cup or some of the larger tournaments. Like outside of Phoenix, where has Brooks really ever shown up outside of a major? And Jihad.
There are a couple places, but yeah.
What does Jeff's therapist think about Jeff's delusion that he's a part of Chargers management? Well, that's not a golf question.
It's not. No one thinks that. I'm actually really. I don't want to get in that. I'm really mad at them.
Okay, this one's from James Fixed. He says, Fixed matches are really interested today. Correct scores. Click on link in bio to join. What do you think?
Sounds like free money.
It does sound like free money, Paul. You are correct. Any more good ones? A lot of bad questions. You people and your terrible fucking questions. Oh, here, this one's from Justin. This is a good one to end on. How about this? Best final pairings for us for Augusta National. Final 3 groups this year.
Like, I'm just a star fucker. So I don't know. Like, I'm trying to, like, who's the worst player you would want in the final 6? Ricky Fowler? Like,
Siwoo?
Okay, yeah. See, that's like, now we're just choosing truly choosing our own adventure, which is what the question asked for.
I got mine.
Like, are you going in order or just the 6 players?
I got Siwoo with Morikawa, Rahm with Brooks, Reed with Hatton.
Yeah, that is that is fantastic. I just have it as Hovland, Rahm, Brooks, Dustin, Bryson, Bryson, Rory. Those would be the 6. Yeah.
Yeah, so just find the biggest names and stuff them in there. I see why you like these elevated events and you love LIV so much.
No, I don't. I was like, what sort of, who was,
I'm shocked. All you've talked
what
about.
did you do? You picked.
You've talked about Victor. You've talked about Victor and Aubert the entire show, and you didn't put them in.
Yeah, I did put them in.
I
definitely put Victor in, but I don't know.
It really sounded like you said like 10 names for 6 people.
No, I said 6 people, but Aubert, like, I don't need Aubert in the final, like.
Well, the question is, what do you want to see? You don't want to see that?
Yeah, but I'm like one of these guys. Like, I also like what's good for the greater good.
Okay. Who has the
like
most?
What the NCAA football did. Like, they did what's good for everyone.
Who has the most potential to be the next Hovland or Aubert in the realm of a must-watch player coming out of Europe, not necessarily Scandinavia? It has to be that Belgian dude, right?
Yeah, but like, that's a question for like Sky. He'll probably name you some Japanese kid. I don't know.
Yeah, so hit up at Skylar Hoke, at Skyhook on Twitter. One last question. What does the end product of LIV look like?
Ooh.
What's the vision that Yasser has that makes it worth the investment? LIV is never going to make money, no matter how many times that Cuss tells you about how much these franchise values are going to be worth, which is ridiculous. It's only there to disrupt the PGA. Since they wouldn't let him buy a part of the PGA, he has now created something that took away so much money from the PGA that they have to let him into the boardroom. And whether it happens this year, next year, 3 years, it is going to happen because he can continue to spend and make this a thing. He doesn't care. They can pretend like they have this sort of mandate that LIV needs to make money. It doesn't need to make money. In fact, I had my agent, Jeff, reach out to LIV to see if they needed some help with the on the gambling front, integrating that into their broadcast, because it seems like there's money to go around. Why can't Pat get his piece too? Get his John Rahm bag to go over and be the gambling mouthpiece of the LIV Tour, because they're just going to spend until it basically forces the PGA out of existence or force them into the boardroom. So I would say that the best case for LIV ends up being they continue to run their own tour. There's a merger between the 3 tours where the PGA has its own thing, the majors are are its own thing. DP has its own thing. And LIV players will be allowed to pick and choose which events they want to play in, but still play their truncated team schedule to go along with it. And maybe the PGA could have a team in there. Maybe the Asian Tour has a team in there. There's different ways that you can do it. But I do think that taking the best of LIV, which is the team concept, but only having it for like 3 or 4 events throughout the course of the year and not 18 is probably the optimal scenario with a LIV and PGA merger, at least in my opinion.
It's hard to really add to any of that. It's a successful. It just, they're in the room. They're legitimized by all of it. It's something else that they have conquered, and I truly, truly, truly believe the Saudis will one day get their claws into the NBA and the, like, people like they should start their own NBA. I'm like, or their own basketball league, buddy. They're gonna buy the Lakers, okay? They're gonna buy the Steelers. You just give it time. I mean it. The Spanos family, it'd be easy pickings for these guys. All these families where the owner doesn't own Home Depot or Walmart of these teams, these family run teams, Mark Davis, I guarantee you the Saudis can pick 1 or 2 off in each sport if they want, and they'll own the teams just like they do in soccer. I mean it. It's coming next.
All right, that will do it for our year in review and mega season preview for golf. One and done at fantasygolfchampionships.com. Get in there now before it fills. fantasynational.com/Mayo for 20% off the entire package. I recommend the annual package, but you can do the weekly package at 20% off with /Mayo at the end of that if you want to as well. Smash like on the way out. Answer the Spotify poll question of what is your favorite non-major tournament of the season, and Jeff and I will be kicking it with you every single week for the PGA Betting Show. So for me, for Paul, for Jeff, for Tim, who will occasionally appear on the show, we will see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!